we've got Dave Archer with us now. Hi, Dave.
Oh, hey, how you doing?
I'm all right. I'm all
Oh,
right. Your
oh,
sound is good. Have you got a new microphone?
I have. Is that not? Is that
No,
okay?
it's good. It's good. I know you've got a new microphone. I was impressed with it.
There's over
Look at that.
£100 microphone there for everybody to so you
I
can hear
know.
me. Hello,
Very
everybody.
impressive. Hiya, Dave. Listen, so
Yeah.
sorry, a couple of minutes over. So
Okay.
I'll give you that time. What I'll do is I'll pop up when we've got a few minutes left, just as and we'll get some Q&As done when we're done. But yeah, go for it. Talk to us about squirrels.
Great. Thank you very much. I'm on going now, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Good morning, everybody. You don't get any blurred backgrounds with Dave. You don't get any sort of the technical slides. I find it very difficult. Uh, there's my phone. That's my type of phone. So what I do know, and for those of you who've seen me before, I do know a lot about grey squirrels, moles, rural pests. That's been my living for and my life for, well, best part of 45 years now. So here we go. We're going on to look. I'm semi-retired now, so I've got the luxury of time to be able to look into the things which, with respect, you may not be able to look at, but I certainly have got the time, and we've got some very interesting points today. If anybody there is thinking, oh, it's old Dave, and I'll list old Dave again, rabbiting on, there are some points here which I promise you won't have considered or you won't know the answers to. Before you jump up and down, this isn't Dave giving the answers. These are verbatim answers from the authorities where it matters. Okay, so I'm not a sponsor for anybody. Nobody pays me to do any of this work. What I'm going through is things that work, and I've got to be a little bit careful on talking on products or anything that we're using here. But I have spoken with BPCA, and it's okay to be promoting some of these products where we are saying this is what works. This is what's going to help you. Okay, first point: grey squirrels. Again, I may have mentioned it before, vitally important, no poisons. No poisons anywhere for grey squirrels. But Dave, I've looked on a certain authority's website, a local authority's website. Yes, I looked on there 2 days ago. You may poison grey squirrels. You may not poison grey squirrels. You may not put poison in a roof space. You may not put poison down where you're not sure if it's rats or squirrels, grey squirrels, but better be grey squirrels. You may not do that. You need to find out what the pest is and treat accordingly. And that is not poisoning. Okay, big important point. I still see it going on, and if a local authority is promoting it and A. Smith Pest Control says, well, that's illegal. Oh, no, no, no. The local authority said it's right. So again, throw your rotten tomatoes at the screen if you want to. Local authorities, get your act in order, check what you're saying and make sure it's correct. Right, okay. So what have we got coming up in the way of modern designs and influence in technology on grey squirrels? Well, our man earlier was talking about non-native species. Cool, what a mess we've made. What an absolute mess we've made, whatever it is, in the last 150 years with non-native alien species imports, of which the grey squirrel is an absolute number one here. In the top 10 of destructive pests, if I'm going to repeat myself from earlier points, but if anybody hasn't seen this talk, this is very important. You may not release a grey squirrel once caught. Now, whether somebody's doing that on a domestic thing and they say, well, I've seen it on a wildlife program or a rehabilitation hospital, they're releasing grey squirrels, it's illegal. Don't do it. Why not, Dave? Well, what we've got here is absolute rules and regulations which would apply, and that does not, it's a non-native alien species. What have we got coming up? What are we looking at? Well, the first thing we're looking at is oral contraceptives. Contraceptives, Dave. Yeah, my dad said they don't work, but there we go. We've got oral contraceptive being considered. Will they work? Well, it's still in progress, depending on which side of the fence you're on. It's a case that are they going to be used? Are they not going to be used? And it seems to be going up and down and being promoted and then being withdrawn. But where we seem to be at the moment, there's 4 phases needed for delivering this. Number one, research and development, which is obviously ongoing now. That's why it's been considered. We have landscape scale trials, so it would be trialed in the first instance, and testing for registration. Is this going to work? Is it a Pandora's box? And I'm not making any comments on that. I'm just saying that needs to go on the evaluation. And then we need to have widespread availability of these methods. It's no good if it's just in one small area. If we're going to push this out, rather like certain injections we all had to have a few years ago, it needs to be a widespread approach to it. For what it's worth, people are saying that, trapping and shooting, etc., from greys won't work. There are too many of them. Yes, they are causing £40 million worth of damage to UK forestry alone. And everywhere you go, you will see grey squirrels, apart from very small key areas now. The grey squirrel is absolutely everywhere. For what it's worth, in the last 20 years or so, even 10 years, I'm finding greys are absolutely pushing on everywhere. We'll come on to why that's a big problem. But now let's look at another. So that's oral contraceptives. Let's see what's happening. Well, what is happening and what's out there right now is pine martens. Give me 2 minutes on pine martens here. Very interesting. I don't know if anybody here has had the luxury of seeing pine martens. I did. I used to live in the far north of Scotland. I saw pine martens on a regular basis, especially when I was deer stalking and it was nice and quiet, or if I was in the remotest of areas, 2 o'clock in the morning, I would see pine martens. They're nocturnal animals. They're omnivorous animals. They fit a strange gap in the mustelid evolution, but they're omnivorous. They'll hunt at night. And when I used to hear noises rustling above me at 2 o'clock in the morning when I was out in the wilds, I'd look up and see pine martens eating cherries and berries in the tops of trees in the autumn, this time of year. Not a care in the world. Yes, they're shy, but they're an interesting animal because that light was shining on them. They didn't care at all. But why are they such an interesting, to my mind, this is very interesting point, is that greys cannot move at night, grey squirrels here. They can't move at night. They like to be in bed, probably like myself these days, they like to be in bed before real darkness occurs. Now, pine martens have always been in this country. Grey squirrels, remember what I said, they're non-native imports. They came from Carolina originally, hence their Latin name, Carolinensis. Right. Pine martens have always hunted red squirrels. Red squirrels instinctively know if they see a silhouette of a pine marten, get out of the way, quick as you can, that thing's going to have us. Whereas the grey squirrel, being a non-native import, hasn't got this genetic trait. So when he's sitting there doing his housework and tidying up the branches, whatever, pine marten sees him and comes along and he thinks, oh, hello, what are you? Got you. So that's a very good method of control because we're using an animal that was always here, and hey ho, it's our problem, we've got rid of them again, but we're reintroducing them on Dartmoor. But remember what I just said about pine martens hunting at night. Very good sense of smell. They smell grey squirrels in a dray. Remember what I was just saying about grey squirrels not being able to run at night? So at night time, they might be doing a much better job than any of us are doing in the daytime. Good point to bear in mind. So we have pine martens now being released in certain key areas, and it seems to be working quite well. Whatever your opinion on this, all I want to say is, just like I said, they are and always have been here. We've knocked them out. We're reintroducing them again because we've caused a problem. Here we go again. With non-native imports, grey squirrels pushing out reds. And by the way, grey squirrels, just as a little thank you to red squirrels, will pass on squirrel pox. They're not affected by it, but they will pass it on to red squirrels. And that's another problem for red squirrels, the poor little things. Red squirrels, absolutely fine. We don't have any problem with reds at all. They don't get into roost spaces. They're not as destructive as greys. Good little chaps. For those of you who remember the Tufty Club and crossing the road, that's your fellow. Right. Okay, Dave. Excuse me. I'm just going to have a little bit of a drink here. We have something else which is brand new kid in the pest control box. Gene drive technology. Gene drive technology. That's not when you're tired and your wife's there and you say, here, Jean, you drive. It's a new type of technology which is going to work. We actually use it already. We use it in agriculture, disease resistance, improving drought tolerance, or improving nutritional value of a crop. We do that with gene editing already. We are using it in animal health. We're producing animal medicines and vaccines, or vaccines. We're producing enzymes in food to be used in food processing. So in a way, it is already here. But what are you talking about, Dave? What are you blethering on about here? What I'm talking about is we are using gene editing in a sex bias towards males. We're not using it, it's not out there yet, it's being considered. In the UK, it's only been used on insects and not mammals as yet. But the grey squirrels has put his toothy head above the parapet and said, I'm here, we might start looking at me for this. So what we would do, well, not me, I'm no scientist, but you'll be taking grey squirrels and editing trap males to make sure they can only pump out, well, the females can only pump out males. Now, just some points to consider. Again, I'm no scientist. Don't start throwing your rotten tomatoes at the screen. Well, you can if you want. I can't see them. It doesn't make any odds to me. But these are just points for myself to pass on to you. Who decides this? Yeah, okay, Dave, you can say, well, it will go through due process. But who would decide it? And another big point here. Would the general public accept this? As pest controllers, you can go to Mrs. Smith's house or Mr. Smith's house, who've been politically correct, and do your pest control treatment, but the person next door absolutely loves grey squirrels. Now, how will they feel about this technology coming in, whereby grey squirrels are being eradicated? Have they already made a big impact on our society without us? Yeah, as pest controllers, we say get rid of them. But it's a big point to consider. Have they already managed to get into the party and they're here and they're not being thrown out? Will it bring out a more aggressive trait in grey squirrels? If you've only got males, as pest controllers how aggressive grey squirrels are. They still surprise me after nearly half a generation of dealing with these things. So if we've only got males there and a few females, how aggressive will these males be? But we can say, that the economic costs are reduced. The Forestry Commission will say, thank goodness we're looking at different methods. We are spending all this money and labour on control here, and it's a little bit of a problem for us. So I'm not sure as well. Let me just give you another case. Rabbits. Oh, we'll import rabbits. Oh, what have we done? What have we done here? We've got rabbits everywhere. Let's introduce myxomatosis. Okay, we put it out there. Oh, what have we done? We've got rabbits which are suffering. They've got pus-filled eyes. They've got lumps all over them. I could take you out and show you rabbits which are still suffering badly with myxomatosis, which the best thing for them is to cull them. It's our problem. The rabbits were our problem. The mix is our problem. And I'm not saying anything against this gene drive technology. I'm just saying we've got to be careful. This isn't pine martins, which we're releasing. We're putting new technology out there, and we need to make sure that we have learned from our mistakes. Right, okay. I've just said public perception on grey squirrels. I'm going to start talking about trapping and shooting now. And time just rips away. Or is it me just blethering on? I don't know. Right, a general point. If this was 15, 20 years ago, a few grey squirrels around, your customer calls you in to deal with grey squirrels. Done, sorted. They may call you back in a year and a half. They may have been in a roof space, but old Fred Smith, he's a good pest controller. He got rid of them. What you will find now, and I don't hear this said very much, but it must ring true with some pest controllers, is that one or two squirrels in the garden isn't one or two. It's 20 or 30. But grey squirrels, generally speaking, unless you've got some gene mutants in there, will all look pretty well the same. You may have a difference in size a little bit, but to the untrained eye, it's that grey squirrel, or that one grey squirrel is on the bird feeder again. People love feeding their birds. They'll call you in if they're that way inclined to get rid of the grey squirrels. But hey ho, you've cleared them up, and all you've done is created a natural vacuum. You've charged the customer, and here we are again, more grey squirrels coming on because they won't stop feeding the birds. And you could say, okay, Dave, then have it written down that they have to stop feeding the birds. But even so, if it's on a woodland fringe, like we are here, the amount of greys is phenomenal. So can you clear, like doing a wasp nest, you've treated the wasp nest, ding dong, off you go, finished. And you would reasonably expect, well, not reasonably, you would expect that wasp nest is dead. I can't see that happening as much now with grey squirrels, unless you're doing large blocks of woodland, like the Forestry Commission, and even then they're not getting complete control. So just make sure what you're doing on these things. Right, food and colour association. If I've got my props here, these aren't screenshots or whatever you call them. Right, this is what I consider the best bait for grey squirrel control. It's whole maize. Now, whole maize is great for various reasons. It's bright yellow, you get colour association, and if you pre-bait an area, be as careless as you like with it. Throw it around, it doesn't matter what's happening, you're getting the grey squirrel introduced into that area. What I also do, if it's trapping up high, you can see I put a few peanuts in there. Never underestimate a squirrel's sense of smell. Squirrels have got fantastic sense of smell. Now, here we go. Kibbled maize, wood mice will get to it. Yes, you mustn't poison wood mice, you must make sure, but if you've got them around and about by traps, they'll be encouraged to it. And if your traps are set finely, all you'll be doing is catching wood mice as well but you won't do it with this fellow. Right, it must be fresh, because if bait isn't fresh, one animal, surprisingly, such is he's so destructive and such a thug, if you like, he needs his fresh bait. He's not interested in anything that's not fresh. So where are we at? Here we go. I've said about not releasing one into the wild, but pest controllers. Uncle Dave here has had the time, and it's taken a lot of time to look into this. How about if you've done this squirrel control job and you're live trapping, how about if Mrs. Smith next door really likes those grey squirrels, you're hardly going to be controlling that squirrel on site, you'll be transporting it. And you think to yourself, do you know, Dave was saying about this non-native species and it's, you mustn't re-release them. Can I transport it? Isn't that illegal? Under the Schedule 9 of the Wild and Countryside Act, which you all know, it's illegal to release a grey squirrel into the wild or, here's the point, allow one to escape. Any squirrels must be humanly destroyed. But you need a license from Natural England to transport or keep greys in captivity. Did you know that? Well, you do. But it does not, here it goes, here's Dave's notes. It does not apply, and I've got, don't have a go at Dave on this one. If you say, no, that's not right. I have got this from the Invasive Alien Species team. It takes a long time to get this information back, but here we go. Write this one down, or put it on your iPhone 57 or whatever it is. They have confirmed no license is required to transport grey squirrels for the purpose of humane dispatch. So you now know absolutely you need to transport it securely, but if you need to transport it from site somewhere else, maybe somewhere which is quieter, like you've got your own bit of woodland or somewhere you can do it quietly, you can cull it in that area. You must only transport it in closed cages or other containers built to prevent their escape. If you're not familiar with using sacks for culling, if that's the way you do cull, no other animal can he's an absolute Houdini, and he'll get out the side of that sacking. So be very careful if that's the method that you're using. Right, okay, time just cracks away here. But let me show. So if you are trapping, one animal you cannot trap or even have a likelihood of trapping in fen traps are stoats. If that is going to happen, you are treading on very, very soft ground. that finger is out looking. Okay, the stoat inspector isn't in every corner, but if you are in contravention, or more to the point, if anybody sees what you've done, if you are trapping stoats, stoats must not be trapped in fen traps, and no likelihood of it either. Now, for 40 years, I've been using box tunnels on ground areas with enclosed fronts. Okay, grey squirrels love to go through these. If they see light at the end of the tunnel, I'm not being daft here, they can't help going through. But if you like, you are advertising that box to any sort of ground covering and ground running animal, be it a hedgehog. Yeah, okay, you've got it secured, you're stopping any non-targets, but show me on a ground set fen trap how you would stop a stoat going in there. If you're using it on the ground, surely to goodness you will have to reconsider how you're using lethal traps. But if it's up off the ground, let me show you something else which is pretty well fantastic. Well, no, let me show you a picture of it first. It's pretty well fantastic. My good friend John has designed this type of box. Now, it's the Finneran box, and it's absolutely fantastic. In as much as you can screw that to a fence, to a tree, whatever you want. Your trap is in the bottom, there's a hole at the top here, and the animal goes through, and here's the point. It is always caught head first with gravity going down, and you may see a little tail out the top here. And just to show you size-wise, here's one in the flesh. It's got a little baffle bit on the side here. If you want to use a fen in there, be my guest, the likelihood of catching a stoat inside that box is not, well, if you are going to, you know, we might as well pack up pest control and take up knitting, whatever, because that is a superb trap. If you want to use another type of trap, a body gripper trap, where's my body gripper trap gone? You know, I can put keys down or anything. I only had that 2 minutes ago. But body gripper traps, I'll come across it in a minute, are absolutely superb. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Another great trap, a body gripper trap. It's a wonderful thing. It fits inside that box, smack. That is legal to use inside those, and it fits as snugly. If you want any more information, in fact, if you want any information, if you think, oh, that's old Dave, you know, he does know his stuff really, ring me anytime. I've got loads of time to talk about all these pests and bits and bobs. Oh gosh, look at us getting cracked on with time. Right, I've got to say this one. I've got to say this. We comply with everything. Please, everybody, whether you're having your cup of coffee, really listen to this point now. We comply with everything. We jump through hoops, we do all these bits and bobs. And pest controllers, yeah, we're pretty good, I think. You don't see much in the news about bad pest controllers. But if you are using a Springer trap, kill traps, and they're used for the purpose under the section of Animal Act, Section 10 states that where spring traps are used for the purpose of catching, or so placed as to be likely to catch any hare. Does anybody know anybody who's actually put a Springer trap down for a hare? I don't, and I wouldn't. Okay, you may, if you have big populations of hare, you may do hare shoots, public opinion these days, but hare or rabbits, good old rabbits again, they must be inspected, this is my point, they must be inspected at reasonable intervals of time and at least once every day between sunrise and sunset. But here's your point, compliant pest controllers. There are no spring traps approved for use on hares. So we have this strange anomaly of law. Surely to goodness, we can tighten up these points. Hares don't live in burrows anyway, as you know. How on earth, if you could, and you can't, how can you set a Springer for a hare? And there's no time schedules here. I'm still on my bullet point, bear with me. There are no time schedules given for any other species trapped. You do not have to, although hopefully we've all got hearts, whatever side your heart, we've all got hearts to think, I will not leave a spring trap down in case an animal is poured in there, which does happen. But you don't have to check that for instance, rats, grey squirrels, if it's a Springer trap on a daily basis. Now, come on, Come on, we can tighten up this law, surely. Why should we all be jumping through these hoops and scratching our heads on these points? It must be, the trap must be set in a natural or artificial teeth back in, or artificial tunnel, which is in either case suitable for the purpose. So yes, of course we would put it into a tunnel, but you know, I would say, looking at that trap box, if that doesn't comply, well, we are jumping through hoops, like I've just said about the law. Give me 2 minutes, 2 seconds, Natalie. Right, another, and if you like your crikey, Ronnie, if you like your page traps and you are doing shooting, make sure, by the way, if you're using pneumatic air rifles, they're below 12 foot-pound. If it's over, it's a firearm. I've just been doing a training course where one was way over. They had a firearm, they didn't know it. But now we have these trap guards which will stop and contain an animal in there so it's not running around, and makes your life so much easier. Elgico is selling these trap cones. They'll fit any trap. I've already used them. Great bit of kit. If you like your shooting, we have, this is a 2-2 bullet, by the way. Any newbies out there, please listen to this, what I'm saying. Oh, Dave, I know. This is a 2-2 rimfire bullet. It will go for 1.5 miles. We've just seen on the news, unfortunately, another shooting incident where somebody was killed. That is a non-frangible bullet. It's a 2-2 bullet. It's fantastic for grey squirrel controls in areas where they are running on the ground, and if you've got your firearm certificate. This is a frangible 2-2 bullet. It splits into 3 and it's fantastic. There's no ricochet with it. And if you have areas where you've possibility of ricochets, that is a great bit of kit. Oh, something else as well. There's if you on your traps inside, another little tip, on that Finneran box, it's a lovely thing. Crossed out whose it is made by. That is a wonderful thing if it's smeared inside the trap box. Peanut butter. Don't underestimate a squirrel's sense of smell. He will smell that, and if he's being a little bit shy about going into the box, actually, really, after 4 or 5 days, he should be going freely. Otherwise, question where your traps are, where your markers are. But peanut butter, just a little bit smeared inside, is great. Oh, and another point. Grey squirrels, second litter. Their second litter is in June or July. Look at this. Yesterday's grey squirrel. Now, I'm not the kind of person who's a weirdo, goes around photographing, but I've done this purely to show you. This is a female. By the way, you have no legal control over youngsters. If there's no cruelty issues if youngsters are left in a nest, you can't help that. But here we are, middle of October. That one hasn't got big what's names, just for fun. I'm going to use my technical zooming in bit. Look, that's ready to go. Okay, and here's another quick point. Are we doing okay, Natalie?
I'd say 3 minutes, and then we've got a bit of time for questions, 3 or 4 minutes.
Okay. Now, I am of the old school. Thank you very much. Thank you, Natalie. I'm of the old school. You know, in days gone by, wonderful. This is a book here on the Ely Game Conservatory Conservation Services, Advisory Services, and grey squirrels. And look how many grey squirrels that used to be caught. This is my pop-up slide. Look at all those grey squirrels there. So we've always had a problem with them, but what's not on that picture? Here's your question for everybody. What have we got here? No, I can't hear you. They haven't got tails. And I'll tell you why they haven't got tails. For those of you that do this kind of work on an industrial scale, these are used. Actually, that's a grey squirrel who's a little bit unsure. Oh, the tail's always going like so. If they sit up in a tree, they're always chittering at you like so. But grey squirrel tails, if you are trapping on an industrial scale, there's still a company in London will buy these for, depending on the availability they've got, for 30 to 40 pence each. So if you've got bundles of 200, it'll buy you a nice curry with your missus when you sort of want to go out. And they are taking as many as they can. They'll pay you postage, but I haven't had them refusing any at the moment. So just a good little thought there for you. Before I say, I should have mentioned this or something I've missed, let me just have a quick look around. Done that. Yeah, okay, Natalie, hit me. I've got some other traps here, but let's just leave that for now because we're going to run out of time. Hit me. Any questions?
Oh, are you sure? Yeah,
Well,
you
I've
got all the
noticed.
bits you covered.
How are you doing? Do you want me to?
So let me have a look at the squirrel. So actually, we've got a couple of good questions that I think would be good to get answered. So Hugh's
Okay.
asked, isn't there talk about a contraceptive which is species specific and it will sterilize greys and not reds?
You try and get a different answer. Oh, well, I can answer that one straight away. Just hit me with that again, Natalie, which is species.
So, isn't there talk about a contraceptive which is species specific that will sterilize greys and not reds?
Who's that question from?
Hugh Radford.
Hugh. Hi, Hugh. No, I think where my understanding of it is we will not, I say we as an industry, will not be using contraceptives anywhere where there are so few red squirrels about now that we will not be using contraceptives anywhere where there is a likelihood of red squirrels, whatever the box size or design is, or whatever the contraceptive is. You can't get that just for grey squirrels, to my understanding. But if you would use the contraceptives in areas where greys are just present, no, but you trapping out in areas, live trapping obviously, in areas where you have this crossover, reds are released, greys are cold. That is what is being considered at the moment. And if you take the countrywide, it's not hard to find areas which are just full of greys and no reds. Thank you.
Fabulous. I mean, there's a few comments on there rather than questions. Matthew
Yes.
said that the Forest of Dean Pest Control here. We have pine martins released in our forest time, and the time will tell really on what impact that has.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how long ago that's happened. I mean, I'm guessing that was in a recent time. But yeah, Forest of Dean, you're absolutely riddled with greys. Absolutely. Bit of a Marmite animal, really. Some people love them, like we say. If you watch programs or animal hospitals and those kind of things, people love them. That's what we're up against. But if it's working in the Forest of Dean or they've done it, then great, great. Okay.
Good stuff. Hugh's put another one on there. So how do you think we should deal with the antis that are very vocal on Facebook pages?
Goodness me, Hugh, look at me here, bearing my soul what do you do? What do you do? Well, we've never been as divorced is the word I was used from well, let's call it death from killing animals. And the majority of people out there, pop stars and people, who will have much better sway than Dave Archer or Hugh ever. And if people are looking back on this on their interweb and looking and thinking, "Oh, Dave here, he's promoting this stuff," that's the world we live in. You won't change it, Hugh. Either you stay with it where it's going to get worse, or you go on to something else. Because look at me 45 years ago. I could do any amount of legal pest control work, but people would take a rabbit for the pot, they would take some venison. These days, well, no, not at all. So you've got to live with that. That's Hugh's decision and Dave's decision. You're all right from me. You're squirreled away, I was going to say, in the background, whereas I'm here still, old dinosaur Dave promoting this stuff. So just be careful. Don't have signs of squirrels on your truck, for goodness sake.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, isn't it? Because I think from say BPCA's perspective, my perspective, and the people I speak to, the things I see, the problems I see pop up from members of the public, they get in touch and ask us certain questions or raise certain concerns. And certainly around the social media side, I'm always advising members to just be caught, advertise your business. It's a really good platform to do. At the end of the day, you're a business and people can say what they want, but you do a business that has a place in the world, protects public health, public safety. That's fine. But I think what I see is when images of dead things basically are put on social media, it can be pretty dangerous in terms of your profile, and people seeing that, because that can create a lot of anger and a lot of emotions. And yeah, okay, whether that's right or wrong almost doesn't matter, because actually these people can make a lot of waves.
That's right. We've got to respect that. Respect everyone's. Everybody seems to be so angry and sort of, very angry these days. I don't quite get that, but yeah, exactly. Everyone's got their opinion. This is, so yeah, let's all just calm down.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, good stuff. I'm going to do one more. Yeah, you've done great on times. We're going to do one more. We've got 1 minute left, so I'm going to go for Andrew. So, hi, Dave. Good presentation, as we all know. If I shoot the dominant male, does it send the hierarchy into disarray and fighting amongst themselves?
Oh, crikey, no, absolutely not. Because your dominant male is so quickly replaced, you just won't, within a day or so, another one's in there. There are just so many greys about. That may work, and I see people are saying, I couldn't agree with you more, by the way. This isn't, let me just say again, Tracy Parker, a lot of frustrated male squirrels with some of this technology. I couldn't agree with you more. Less females can be a recipe for trouble. I couldn't agree with you more. But again, like Natalie just said, it needs further investigation, but there are questions that are popping up with regard to greys. Yes, absolutely, yes.
Yeah. Good stuff. Well, that's perfect timing. It's 5 minutes to 11, which is time for our break. So, Dave, yeah, thank you as always. I love your presentation style. It's a nice change, isn't it?
Sorry about the techno.
It's the pictures you held up. I love it.
£100. How many squirrels was that? But just quickly, Natalie, if anyone wants to talk to me about any of these problems that they're having, I do lots of training. By all means, pick up your phone, speak to the BPCA. Anything you think's contentious, we'll talk it through, because that's the only way we're getting proper answers to it. So thanks.
Absolutely. Talking is learning, isn't it? So fabulous. Great, Dave. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody.
See you soon. Okay.
Okay, take care.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks for watching.
Thank you. So great, as Dave says, yeah, get in touch, got any more questions, and with all of the speakers we've had today, if you have more questions that we didn't get to, then yeah, get in touch with us, pop us an email, pop us a phone call, and yeah, we'll try and answer those questions for you. Okay.